You're going to add the horseradish. It's a fabulous horseradish. This is a horseradish from Pennsylvania, from Amish country. This is from my garden. And this is where we annoy all the grandmothers.
Hi, I'm Rick Orlando, and I get all kinds of requests, but the one I receive the most is 2 words. Recipe, please?
And today, because you've been begging for it, we're going to make latkes. Yes, the latkes that beat Bobby Flay, we're going to make here in Albany on this beautiful morning. Are you ready? Good. Okay. We have a lot of good local stuff we're going to use, and latkes are really simple. You know, the secret to making a really good latke is making sure you have good fat and good potatoes, and you cook them the right way. So I'm going to put my pan on and let it start getting warm. And I have some local russet potatoes. Now, people like to get funky with their latkes and get all these fun little potatoes. Let me just tell you something. You want a starchy, bland potato. A russet is really good. You can get away with a Yukon Gold if you want, but anything with a red skin, there's a lot of water in them, and they're not going to make as good crispy exterior latkes. So I have a couple of tricks for the latkes. And this is all of my own science. I want to grate some potato. A nice size russet's going to make like maybe 2 latkes. But here's my secret and my trick. It is a combination of 2 textures of potatoes. So part of my potatoes, about 75%, are going to be regular grated on a box grater. I'm going to add my grated onion now. You always need onion. And I want about a half an onion in there. So now for the textural contrast that I want to add to these latkes, and this can go elsewhere. It's done. Oh no, it's not. We're going to bring it back. I'm going to use a mandolin. If you don't have a mandolin, get one. So we want a mandolin because we want to have a nice julienne. You can do it with a knife, but the mandolin makes a great julienne. Right? What I'm adding here is a fine julienne, so I get some ribbony texture. We call these luscious latkes, and don't do this at home. You're supposed to use the guide when you use a mandolin. I got yelled at on the Food Network when I was on Beat Bobby Flay. They stopped. You can't do it with your hand, but aside from one little cut, I'm fine. All right. So there's my laciness. That is what's going to add the lacy to the luscious, lacy latkes, these beautiful shards and shreds of potatoes. Now we're going to add a little touch of my own, just for a little oomph. We're going to add the horseradish. It's a fabulous horseradish. This is a horseradish from Pennsylvania, from Amish country. They do a great job. This is from my garden. I don't know what that says, but you know what? I'm going to leave the big one, and I'm going to use my own. And the you can use prepared horseradish out of a jar. Right, so we have potatoes, we have onions, we have horseradish. Pretty simple. We're going to season it with salt. Now, I've been doing this a lot, so I know that for every potato, I want a little scant teaspoon of salt, but depending on the size of potato, but use your judgment. Don't be afraid to taste it. A little black pepper. And then from Feather Ridge Farms, I have beautiful local free-range egg. And it's nice thing about an egg that's well made, well raised, the yolks are solid. You can see the difference. Look how high that yolk is in there, right? Now you can make these with flour, you can make them with matzo meal, or you can make them gluten-free like we're going to do today. This is a little bit of cornstarch and potato starch. You want enough starch to make a slurry. And this is where we annoy all the grandmothers. And this is where we annoy all the grandmothers. I don't squeeze my potatoes out. I leave all the juice in the bottom, and you mix them with your hand. It's the only really way to do it, is to get your hand in there and squeeze it. Now the potatoes are going to start to give off lots of water. And instead of squeezing that out, I'm going to show you my magic trick, okay? I think we're mixed well here. I think we're seasoned well. Let's dry my hand, and we're going to put some fat in the pan. Now, this is from Hudson Valley Duck Farm, pure duck fat. Traditionally, latkes are cooked in schmaltz, which is chicken fat, and it's really good. It doesn't convert to a trans fat when it's heated, like a lot of vegetable and seed oils. So I want a fair amount in there because we're going to pan fry these. But the nice thing is, after this is done, I can strain it and use it again and again and again. Keep it in the refrigerator. You'll have duck fat for a long time. You want a heavy skillet. If you don't have a heavy skillet, you got to get a heavy skillet. You got to have it warding off criminals, doing all kinds of good stuff. All right, so look, this is the thing. Traditionally, most people would squeeze their latkes to death. Squeeze out all the starch. That's what I've been told. However, I want some of that creamy starch in the center of my latke. What happens then is you get this crispy outside, this creamy middle, almost inimitable. So over the years, through my experimentation and scientific study, I've come up with a method, and it's called the left-handed pitcher method. So I make a ball a little smaller than a tennis ball, like this, and then I start tossing it up and down. And as I'm doing this, a little bit of the liquid's coming out. You get a little squeeze every time, but it's also through, the Brits would say centrifugal, and the Americans would say centrifugal, but through the force, it's forming a tight little ball, okay? Oops. And then I'm gonna, let's see how hot this pan is. Kind of perfect. I want the first one to go in round. I know it's unorthodox, but so are left-handed pitchers, and that's what I am. So let's just, look at that. I know I have to look at it, it's bad. I should be able to do this without looking. So what I'm doing is I'm losing a little bit of the starch, and I'm containing some of the starch in there to get that creamy center and the lacy outside from the julienne potatoes. That's not how Grandma made them, but that's why we're chefs. Okay, there's 4 luscious lacy latkes. Our toppings we're going to use on this particular one today, we have Vermont Creamery creme fraiche, or you can use sour cream. We have some salmon roe or salmon caviar from Catsmo in Walkill. Robert Simon and I have gone back 20 years with his beautiful smoked salmon and smoked product. They're great. They're done right there. And here's a piece of Catsmo gravlax or smoked salmon. So look what's happening now. My latkes are starting to get a little brown around the edges. I'm seeing that little window of golden, right? Gonna let them cook just a bit. The oil's just high enough. It's probably a little less than 1/4 of an inch. I don't want to deep fry them, but if you don't have enough oil, you're not gonna get a crispy latke. So at this point, I turn them, and they're still little snowballs now. And then, when we turn them back, we're going to do it again. Okay, we have our perfectly golden brown latkes. We're going to finish off in a minute. My latkes are perfectly golden brown. They're somewhat flattened out, but not so much. Have that nice laciness here. And it takes about 5 minutes to make 4 latkes. It takes about 7 minutes to make 8 latkes because you put them right back in the same pan. Turn the flame off so we don't have any issues. And now let's dress these latkes up. What do you say? All right, here's what's going on. We're going to get fancy now, okay? We have this beautiful creme fraiche, and really, really want to thank our friends, Honest Way Food Co-op, for providing this stuff because they really support us in all this. They support Farm Fresh to Market. I'm going to take a little bit of this gravlax, not too thin, because I want some texture. 4 nice slices of perfectly cured salmon. And these are all Faroe Island salmon. And I'm going to put a slice delicately on each one of these. You see the warmth is melting the creme fraiche just a little bit. And then our garnish for the whole thing, to make this entire thing pop, is some of this beautiful salmon roe or salmon caviar. It's going to give you a little saltiness, the little jewels that we like. Oops, get in there. And there, my friends, you have gorgeous latkes.
The texture is amazing. The crispiness on the outside and the creaminess on the inside.